Hey everyone, I'm Jaden,
And I'm Noah.
and we are the Super Gamer Bros, and this is the Super Gamer Bros podcast. We're just a couple of brothers who love playing games and love talking about games, so that's what we do. And today, Noah, we are talking about God of War. And for anyone thinking, wait, they already talked about that game. No, we're actually talking about the original God of War, which came out in 2005. And it's really just called God of War. I don't think like people put the date in the title or anything like that, as far as I've seen.
No, it's the original, so it's just God of War.
Yeah, God of War, man.
And it
So
is
yeah,
the original,
obviously,
right? It's the game that started it all.
that is correct. So obviously, God of War, released by Santa Monica Studios for the PlayStation 2 all the way back in 2005. And I mean, it it is considered one of the best games of all time in a general sense, which I mean, it's definitely a really fun game. Noah, I don't know. I honestly, I mean, I feel like I can't talk necessarily about the time around when it came out because we weren't as big into games when it came out.
Right, but we do know that God of War, the original, is accredited for this certain beat 'em up style
Hack and
that
slash really
the
helped make
hack
the
and
hack and
slash,
slash.
really, yeah. I mean, other games had it, but it was really God of War that made it popular, more mainstream. And I think it spawned off a lot of clones. I want to say Dante's Inferno is a clone, but I don't want to get called out for that. I haven't played it. I haven't researched it. I
As
just
someone
assume,
as someone who has the platinum trophy in Dante's Inferno, it is a clone.
but it would have to have come out after.
It did, yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
No,
exactly.
Dante's Inferno was released on the PS3. It was years after the original God of War.
Okay, so yes, God of War is one great for its amazing story, which revolves around a mortal basically on a quest for vengeance after a god. And a game like this had not been made before with such a well-written story, I would argue, as well as the fact that it had to deal with Greek mythology, which, we personally love. We've talked about our love for Greek mythology before, but I do find that Greek mythology is the most popular pantheon in terms of ancient mythologies that I tend to find.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. What you said about Greek mythology, and obviously God of War. We were into Greek mythology, so God of War being a Greek game instantly hooked us. And as well, I know for a fact I've told the story on the podcast before, Noah. But God of War, the first three God of War games were the transition for us being what I call serious gamers, from like the more casual gaming of our younger days, when we traded like our last 20 PS2 games in at GameStop, and we got the God of War collection, which is 1 and 2, God of War 3, and we got our first like Game Informer membership, the Edge card it was called back then, but now it's the power-ups rewards. And we were so young that we were I don't know, 11, 12, because you had to be 13 to be a member, and we weren't even old enough to do that. So the account was in our mom's name for many years.
Ah, yes, good times.
Yeah. So yeah, that's God of War. It is one of my favorite series of all time. That was before the new one came out, which in my opinion, the new one is the best game in the series. That kind of depends on whether you like the older style God of War games or the newer style better. That's whatever. But yeah, I mean, God of War, man, we spent a long time playing. Like, back in the days when we did not, own a lot of games, so we would usually, we didn't buy games a lot, because we didn't have money. We would just like play the same games over and over. And the God of War series certainly I played all of those games over and over when we were younger.
Yeah, I too have definitely played them multiple times, so it'll be exciting to not finally have a game that is not a beat and delete, even
Yeah.
though it is, but
Well, we'll
you
find
can
out
still
about that.
replay it.
We'll find out about that when we get to our questions.
Right. So let's get into the setting.
Anyway, the settings. So God of War is set in an alternate version of ancient Greece populated by the Olympian gods, titans, and other Greek mythological beings. There are 6 locations explored. There are fictional versions of the real-world Aegean Sea and Athens, and then there are fictional locations, the Desert of Lost Souls, the Temple of Pandora, the Underworld, and a brief scene on Mount Olympus. The Aegean Sea setting includes a mass of shipwreck vessels. Athens is a war-torn city under assault by Ares, the god of war. Beyond Athens is the Desert of Lost Souls, a vast and windy desert of ancient ruins. And then the majority of the game occurs in Pandora's temple, which is chained to the back of the Titan Kronos, who crawls through the desert. The massive temple, constructed by the architect Pathos Verdes III, is filled with traps and monsters and has 3 sections dedicated to the Titan Atlas and the gods Poseidon and Hades. The underworld is a fiery realm with spiked pillars full of souls and flaming versions of previously encountered enemies. And that's the, it's funny, when I was creating this document that I realized, I guess it really is just those places, because it feels like, it just feels like more, I guess, when I look back on it.
Yeah, I would attribute that to filler story because Kratos travels so far and there's so much narration about what he does.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's to me good storytelling. And I'm sure they had mechanical limitations back then. You couldn't make a game as big as you could now, as big as God of War 2018.
Well, no, of
So
course not.
yeah, so I think, but you're right, they do a wonderful job of making the maps feel much like much more unique, and each one feels different. It has a different look, all different enemies, and in that sense, you feel like you've traveled to so many different places, when in reality it's like 4.
Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah, because also even it's really only 5, because Olympus, while is credited here as a location, it really, you're only in Olympus in the final cutscene of the game. It's not a location you actually walk around in.
Right.
Yeah. So then let's move on to the story. Kratos is a warrior who serves the Greek gods of Olympus. Oh, I did want to say, most game stories that I take from Wikipedia, they do a very bad job of flashback storytelling, describing that in words, typically just throwing it in a random paragraph somewhere in the middle, which just makes it really confusing to read. I like this one because all the backstory stuff is first, and then it actually gets into the plot of the game. Just thought I'd just throw that out there. So Kratos is a warrior who serves the Greek gods of Olympus. Flashbacks reveal that he was once a successful but bloodthirsty captain in the Spartan army and led his men to several victories before being defeated by a barbarian king. Facing death, Kratos called on the god of war Ares, whom he promised to serve if the god would spare his men and provide the power to destroy their enemies. Ares agreed and bonded the Blades of Chaos, a pair of chained blades forged in the depths of Tartarus, to his new servant. Kratos, equipped with the blades, then decapitated the barbarian king. Kratos waged war at the behest of Ares, eventually leading an attack on a village occupied by worshippers of Athena. Unknown to Kratos, Ares had secretly transported Kratos' wife and daughter to the village. During his frenzied attack on his temple, Kratos accidentally killed them while he was under a spell cast upon him by Ares. Although Ares believed this act would free Kratos to become the perfect warrior, the horrified and saddened Spartan instead renounced his pledge of servitude to the god and swore vengeance against him. The Oracle of the Destroyed Village cursed Kratos by bonding the ashes of his dead family to his skin, turning it ash white and earning him the nickname Ghost of Sparta. Plagued by nightmares of his horrible deed, Kratos vowed to serve the other gods in hope of ridding himself of the visions. That's a lot. I really like the backstory aspect of why he's so white.
True. I do like that too. What I like is this story is so Greek. Like Kratos has this tragic backstory, and he was basically, almost kind of tricked by the gods who just do whatever they want because they want to and don't care. And that's what sends Kratos on this whole quest for vengeance. And a lot of Greek mythologies play out that way. It's the heroes kind of doing what they're doing just because they have to, because the gods are making them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The classic Greek mythological stories, not a lot of them have happy endings, and most of them are because the gods are, jerks, basically. That's it. So, when the game starts, Kratos has been serving the gods for 10 years. He kills the Hydra on behalf of Poseidon, but he has grown tired of his service and his suffering. He summons Athena, who states that if Kratos performs one final act, the murder of Ares, he will be forgiven for killing his family. Ares is waging war on the city of Athens out of hatred of his sister Athena, who assigns Kratos to destroy Ares because Zeus has forbidden divine intervention. Athena guides Kratos to the war-torn Athens, and after a strange encounter with a gravedigger who encourages him to continue his task, Kratos battles his way to Athens' oracle, finds her, and learns that the only way to defeat Ares is with Pandora's box, a mythical artifact that grants the power to kill a god. Kratos enters the Desert of Lost Souls, and Athena tells him Pandora's box is hidden in a temple chained to the back of the Titan Kronos, a punishment by Zeus for Kronos' role in the Great War. Kratos summons Kronos and climbs for 3 days before reaching the temple entrance. He overcomes an array of deadly traps and an army of monsters, and eventually finds the box. But Ares, aware of his former servant's success, kills Kratos as he is leaving the temple by hurling a large pillar into him. While Harpies take the box to Ares, Kratos falls into the underworld. He battles his way through the Fire Realm, and with the help of the mysterious Gravedigger, he escapes and returns to Athens. Kratos recovers Pandora's box from Ares, opens it, and uses its power to become godlike and engages Ares in a fierce battle. Despite Ares' best efforts to destroy Kratos physically and mentally, including stripping him of all weapons and magic before forcing him to relive his family's death, Kratos survives and kills Ares with the Blade of the Gods, a giant sword that was being used as an ornamental bridge to Athens. Athens is saved, and Athena tells Kratos that although his sins are forgiven, the gods cannot erase his nightmares. Forsaken by the gods, he tries to commit suicide by casting himself into the Aegean Sea, but Athena intervenes and transports him to Mount Olympus. As a reward for his services to the gods, Athena provides Kratos with a new set of blades and the seat as the new god of war.
Greatest ending to a game ever.
I was going to say, you can't end them any better than that. It is legitimately what the game is called.
Yeah, exactly. Did we talk about the fact that Ares picked up a column and hurled it across Greece to hit Kratos in the chest?
It's a very long distance. That did pop in my head as I was reading it, and I thought, man, it's very silly. I feel like in the game, because just the fact that you get the box, everything, and then Ares, like it cuts to Ares, and he's just like, oh, and he picks up a thing and just hurls it, and just out of nowhere, it just stabs Kratos and impales him to a wall. It's insanity, man.
Yeah, but it adds up to the Kratos death count, the amount of times he goes to and escapes from hell.
I mean, he does it in every game.
Yes, sometimes more than once.
Sometimes more than once. But yeah, I mean, that's the story. I like it. Obviously, God of War takes a lot of liberties with the Greek mythology, but I like that.
I like it too. It's fresh. It's a new take. It has all the markings of Greek mythology without being exactly what the myths are. Because if we already knew everything that was going to happen, that would be, a lot less fun. But
Yep.
Since they have all these characters that we know about, I mean, all the gods for sure, but the Titans also. Like, I thought having the Titans involved was really cool, deep cut. A lot of people know about the Greek gods, but they don't know a lot about the Titans.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's definitely like, they did their research, and it shows. It's certainly like, as people who are, big fans, and I would say, slightly knowledgeable on Greek mythology, it's cool just to see all of these different things that, again, even though they're not exactly what they are in mythology, you see a certain character, a certain creature, anything that comes from that, and I'm just like, ooh, oh, it's that, yeah.
Exactly. So now, as always, onto the gameplay. God of War is a third-person, single-player action-adventure video game with hack-and-slash elements viewed from a fixed camera perspective. There are also minor puzzle solving elements. Anywho, so in this game, Kratos actually has the least amount of weapons. And for me, I actually never ever stray away from the best weapon in the whole series, which is, of course, the Blades of Chaos. Jaden kind of mentioned them earlier, but they are two blades on chains, and Kratos hurls them around like a madman.
I mean, top 10 video game weapons of all time,
Easily.
easily.
Yes, and that's why they made a return for God of War 2018.
I
You
mean,
know, these
every God of War, they're in
every
every
God of
game.
War has them because they're Kratos' signature weapon, and he simply has not existed without them as of yet.
Mhm.
And we know that he won't be without them in Ragnarok either. So, his other weapon is the Blade of Artemis. Jaden, what is the Blade of Artemis?
It's basically just a giant sword.
Is it the one he picks up at the end?
No. It's like he just gets it in the game.
Oh, okay.
It's, I mean, yeah, it's weird because God of War, the original, is
Artemis.
by far the least in terms of weapons. Because that's what I thought. It looks like a lightning bolt.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a giant sword. It's the typical like it's slower than the Blades of Chaos, but it does more damage kind of thing.
Right. So, other than weapons, Kratos also has magic. He has Poseidon's Rage, which is electricity. Doesn't make any sense. He has Medusa's Gaze. After getting Medusa's head, he holds it up and it can turn people to stone after a brief time of being in like a cone. He also acquires Zeus's Fury. Summon bolts of lightning and throw them. And then finally, Army of Hades, which is my favorite. Summon the very souls of the underworld to attack nearby foes. I felt like Poseidon's Rage was the best, but I preferred the visuals of Army of Hades.
Yeah, Poseidon's Rage, is like Kratos floats in the air and there's like a circle area around him that is just lit up with electricity, and you can keep mashing the button to make the attack last basically as long as you have magic. I would argue it's definitely, I would say it's definitely the best attack in the game. And yeah, again, I don't know the exact numbers, but God of War, the first game, does have, other than maybe the PSP games of the main series, the least amount of weapons. I guess at least until you get to God of War 2018, but in the original series, yeah. But this is something that back when we played God of War, despite the fact that I played it over and over and over again, I only ever used the Blades of Chaos. And this is every game, not just God of War, every game. I only ever used the Blades of Chaos. I never used any other weapon, so I can't really comment on any other weapon. Other than like typically the first time you get any weapon, you have like a tutorial section where you use it, but other than that, I never used any other weapon other than the Blades of Chaos.
I'm the same way.
And then with magic, I mean, it's really the same thing. I find myself in the first game using Poseidon's Rage and like Zeus's Fury if I had to attack someone far away. But like Medusa's Gaze, like every game has like that kind of support magic. Like it doesn't damage enemies, but it does other things. And I just never find myself using those in these games. Anyway, all weapons and magic are upgradable. Weapons are upgradable 5 times, magic 3 times, and that's a constant in every original series of every original game in God of War. Yeah.
Pretty standard.
Mm-hmm. Also, in combat, you have Rage of the Gods. A kind of superpowered state provides temporary invulnerability and increased attack damage. And as Noah, I had said in our Mad Max episode, I rarely ever used it just because I wouldn't think about it, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I just never use it because I want to save it. I'm like, oh, I should save it for when I'm in trouble, and then I'm almost never in trouble.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Why don't you talk about the negative thing that God of War started?
I think you mean the positive thing that God of War started. God of War, God of War did not start. We're talking about QuickTime events, people. God of War did not start QuickTime events. Those were a thing in
No,
games
but it
long
made
before
it
God of War.
mainstream. I blame God of War for QuickTime events in Resident Evil 5.
I can't comment on that. I don't know enough about it. But quick time events. In combat, quick time event is initiated when the player has weakened a strong foe. The circle button will appear over their head, so you just walk up, press circle, and then the player performs a sequence of actions on the game controller. So it'll say like, oh, press circle, press square, press triangle, mash circle, rotate the right stick, rotate the left stick, whatever. And basically, it's a cinematic sequence, and as you do each of these moves, Kratos attacks the monster, dodges attacks, whatever. If you're successful through the entire sequence, it kills, whatever a monster you're fighting and ends the battle. If you fail, usually, the creature stops you in the middle of your combo, throws you down, you take some damage, and typically the creature regains a bit of health, so you have to do more damage before you can do the quick time event again. And in the case of normal enemies that this happens to, because this happens in against just tougher normal enemies and boss fights. In the case of normal enemies, it is completely optional. You do not have to do it if you don't want to. Bosses, you do. You can't beat a boss if you can't do the quick time event.
Right. This is something I feel like they perfected in God of War 2018. I felt like the quick time events felt much more interactive and impactful. I mean, in this, the cinematic sequences are something to witness, but your simple press of a button never really feels like you're doing anything to me.
I think it's time for Jaden's unpopular gaming opinion of the episode. I love quick time events in games. I love them. I think they can absolutely be implemented in very, very stupid ways. Looking at you, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, press F to pay respects. But
Classic.
classic. But like when they're done well, which I think the entire God of War series does them well, they're awesome. And the other just an extra thing to like, I guess keep you on your toes, make you feel more invested in the combat. Yeah, I mean I love them. And God of War, I think, has some of the best quick time events in games, most cinematic, your goriest, awesome quick time events.
Yeah, they are some of the best.
Yeah. Anyway, and that's combat, right, Noah? That's combat.
It is combat.
Yeah. And then I guess really quickly, this is the first time in a while that we have not really had a traversal section in the game because the game is very linear. There are, platforming elements and stuff, but there's not really much to it. You run where in the direction that the game has you run in whatever location you're in. Some areas are a little more open for like, so you can explore, find stuff that you need. But yeah, there's not really much to it. You can run and jump and roll. And the roll is a dodge. It's not really something you use when you're going around.
What about the puzzles?
Anyway, puzzles. Now, puzzles are definitely, I feel, not the first thing that people think about when they think of God of War. And honestly, that's probably one of my biggest complaints about God of War 2018 is they really, I feel, do away with the intricate puzzles that the God of War series has in previous games, all the way back from the very first God of War. So, obviously these puzzles, very contrasting to the hack and slash action. These puzzles range in difficulty and complexity, and they're there throughout the game. Like, if it takes you 10 hours to beat this game, I would say a solid 6 to 7 hours of that, you will be in Pandora's Temple, and it's all puzzles. Now, granted, some of those puzzles do have you deal with fighting enemies, or you have to kind of solve the puzzle while enemies are constantly spawning, so you have to deal with that. But yeah, it's like that. Pandora's Temple is all puzzles. And I mean, there are just, I feel too many to go into any specifics. Like, let me rephrase it. The puzzles I feel are too complex for us to talk about them here, talk about a specific puzzle here, because there's so much to them all for the most part.
That's true. They were more complex. And I do feel like it was meant to pad game time, but like you said, I do agree that the puzzles were entertaining, and I still enjoyed what little puzzles they had in God of War 2018.
I
And I
enjoyed the
thought they were
puzzles.
complex enough.
No, I
But
enjoyed.
I agree, there just wasn't enough of them.
Yeah, no, I absolutely enjoyed the puzzles in God of War 2018. I just certainly would not have been opposed to more. Anyway, I think I mean, that's it for puzzles. I don't know. Like they're so, yeah, I feel like it's really like you can't really explain specifics with the puzzles because they're just very intricate to explain. Anyway, now we'll move on to collectibles. So God of War does not have, I'll say, vanity collectibles. Everything that you get
What
in
about
this
lore
game,
collectibles?
no. I guess that vanity lore is the same thing. It's every collectible in this game is useful for something. So first, you have your orb chests. There's a red chest. Actually, I think in God of War it might just be a solid gray chest. No, that's the special stuff. A red chest, a blue chest, and a green chest. Those chests gives you blood orbs, magic, and health, respectively. Red, blood, magic, blue, health, green. Blood orbs, I feel like should have been mentioned previously. Blood orbs are used to upgrade your weapons and magic. So I guess you could kind of say they're like the experience point / currency of God of War. Yeah, a lot of, I mean, that's, killing enemies gets you blood orbs, solving puzzles, like everything you do in this game gets you blood orbs, including finding them in chests. And then obviously health and magic refills are health and magic refills. And then the other two types of collectibles, I wouldn't say the other two collectibles in this game both have the same or similar functions. There are phoenix feathers. Chests contain phoenix feathers I think every 5 or 6 phoenix feathers you find, you increase your maximum magic. And then Gorgon eyes. If anyone doesn't know what Gorgons are, that is what Medusa is, a Gorgon. So the turn you into stone kind of snake women creatures. And finding 5 or 6 Gorgon eyes increases your maximum health.
Right, pretty standard collectibles. And these are all things that you see mirrored in the reboot.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I know God of War 3 was the first God of War game to actually have collectibles that weren't like that are what I think most people would consider collectibles when you think of collectibles.
Right, optional things that don't affect gameplay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's only the one in God of War 3. I don't remember Ascension because we did not play Ascension that much, admittedly. And God of War 2018 obviously has a bunch. So that's it for the story part of this game. There's not a lot there. It's a PS2 game. It's kind of, there's just not a lot there. I don't know what else to say. But after you complete the story, you unlock the Challenge of the Gods. So the Challenge of the Gods are 10 additional challenges that you can complete that gets you different kind of awards like concept art, little short movies, things, costumes for Kratos, things like that. As I said, there are 10 challenges. This is something that is in every classic God of War game, at least 1 through 3, and then the 2 side games, Chains of Olympus, Ghost of Sparta. I don't know if they're in Ascension again because know nothing about that game, and they sort of are in God of War 2018 as well. They're just kind of presented differently. Right? No, what's the realm in God of War 2018 that you do the challenges?
You mean Muspelheim?
Yep, that's it, Muspelheim. Yeah. So the challenges in God of War are all incredibly difficult. At least from my experience trying them back in the day, I did not have much success. But there are different, obviously each challenge is something different from simply killing all enemies in a time limit to killing one type of enemy, but you can't kill the other types of enemies that spawn while you're trying to kill, like you're trying to kill, say, 3 Cyclops, but there are a bunch of grunts that are spawning and you can't kill any of the grunts or you lose. That kind of challenge. To simply like breaking pots and like there's like a platforming challenge.
Breaking pots.
Was that a reference I didn't get?
No, it's an impression to what you just tried to say a second ago.
Breaking pots?
Anywho,
Did I say it weird?
no, anywho, I never tried any of these actually. I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah, they're difficult, man. They're very hard. Definitely one of the, obviously one of the harder aspects of God of War, which I mean itself, I would say is not an easy game. I guess that's something we've not touched on is the original God of War games. They're not easy. Even on easy, they can be pretty tough, which I think goes with talking about combat because this is something that I remember as I created this document. I thought, oh yeah, I have to put this somewhere because we should talk about it. Is enemies like the bigger an enemy is, the less it staggers as you hit it, which, as you've said before, Noah, is something that really annoys you in games when enemies don't stagger when they're hit.
Yeah, that's both from a gameplay aspect because it means that they will be allowed to attack you while you're in the middle of an attack animation. Therefore, you're literally unable to do anything about it. And that's annoying, when you are losing for things you feel like aren't your fault. And then second of all, your character in a video game is usually supposed to be overpowered. Like you're playing as the god of war. You want to feel like his attacks make an impact on these people.
Well, I mean, in this game, you're just a dude.
That's true. Well, depending on when you're playing this game, he's a demigod.
Sure.
Canonically, he is the son of Zeus.
Of course.
We go by the canon,
Of course.
not your head canon.
Of course. Sorry, I keep forgetting that this is an audio podcast. I keep looking at my camera in like disbelief.
What's next?
Anyway, yeah, Challenge of the Gods. Next,
Oh,
notable
damn.
trophies. Yeah, again, there's like,
You got the
I mean, God of War is fun. It's just
speed of
there's not a lot.
Jason McDonald. That is funny.
So actually, there is a third. So there are 3 trophies I feel are notable in God of War. Noah. So first off, there
Oh,
is.
shoot.
So first off, there is You Got the Touch. Climb the spiked column in Hades without taking damage. So when you get towards the end of the Hades section of the game, there is a very, very, very tall column that is slowly rotating that has spikes coming out of it. And Kratos can climb this tower, and as it's rotating, so you have to kind of move to the side so that you're not. Oh, it also, like, there are different sections that are spinning in different, directions, whatever. It's very tall, and it became something like, I don't know if you'd say a meme or just something, just like, I guess a meme, a thing that people always associated with the first God of War, because it's very difficult to do. Because if you get hit, you fall all the way down to the bottom, no matter where you are, because of like your hit stagger. And again, it's very tall, very annoying, and you have to, complete it without taking any damage, so not getting hit by a single spike.
Like you have to do that in the story?
Yeah, like you have to climb it in the store. Well, I mean, you have to climb it in the store.
Can you get hit and keep climbing?
No, if you get hit, you fall all the way down.
Exactly. So literally you have to do it without getting hit.
Yes, but maybe you can catch yourself if you're up high enough. I don't know. I feel like you can't, but I could be wrong. But but obviously if you take damage, fall all the way back to the beginning, you have to climb up, but you don't have the trophy. You have to like kill yourself to reset the trophy aspect of it.
That's annoying.
Yeah. We actually have this trophy, which shocked me when I was looking at our trophy list, because like it's a gold trophy, which I love that it's gold because of, again, just how infamous the spike column is. Because of course on the PS2 release, the game didn't have trophies didn't exist, but on the PS3 re-release is where they got that trophy, and they I guess took to heart all the people complaining about how hard the spiked column is. So then the next one, speed of Jason McDonald. So Jason, there is, I don't know if his last name is actually McDonald, but there is, the legendary Greek mythological hero Jason, who he's like the guy who got the golden fleece, captain of the Argonauts.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah. I was explaining to the audience.
You mean they're not Greek mythology heads like us?
I don't know. So basically, this is what I would say is the hardest trophy in the game. Beat the game in under 5 hours on any difficulty. Now, like most games where you have a time limit like this, there are ways to work around it, backup saves, blah, blah, blah. But there are something you don't think about when you play through the game, because I played through the game, so many times, and it wasn't until like 2 years ago I was watching someone on YouTube play through the game that I realized there are enemy encounters you can just completely skip over if you don't want to do them.
I
Like,
didn't know that.
yeah, like I always did because of the blood orbs and stuff, but there are a lot of encounters. I wouldn't say a lot. Like I would say maybe at least like around 30% of encounters that you can absolutely just skip over, which obviously is something that'll save you a lot of time.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty difficult. You can also you can play on easy, but even with all that, it is a fairly difficult speed run trophy that I do not have because I do not have the platinum in this game because again, back when I played it, getting trophies was not really a big deal to me. But the God of War series, again being one of my favorites, is a game like I've always wanted to go back and play these games to get all the trophies in God of War 2, God of War 3, Ghost of Sparta, because I like the games and I know I'll enjoy doing it. It's just, yeah, I just haven't had the time. It's a shame.
That is a shame.
Anyway, another trophy that we don't have in the original God of War, Rockin' the Boat, complete the sex mini game. So
That's
what?
right. For all you youngsters who don't know out there, Kratos used to be a horn dog.
So, in the original God of War series, the first 5 games, Ascension did not have one, and obviously God of War 2018 did not have one. At some point in each game, sometimes hidden, sometimes not, you come across multiple women, and it's a you know quick time. You have quick time event sex is the best way I can put it, I guess.
That is the best way to put it. This never made sense to me because Kratos does not strike me as a lover, and he's also on a quest for vengeance after he slaughtered his wife and child.
Well, I think it's just the physical aspect of it. You know, just get your rocks off and move on.
He just longs for the touch of a woman.
I I wouldn't even say. I mean,
Kratos?
I don't know. No, I feel like you're putting emotions into this. I don't think emotions have anything to do with it. He just wants to get laid.
Kratos is nothing if not emotional.
Well, not that kind of emotional though. Like he's angry, sure, but I wouldn't say he's like, constantly looking for love.
He does get remarried.
Sure, eventually, yeah. Yeah, and it's like I feel weird doing these in the games, but one, you get a lot of blood orbs doing it, and two, you get a trophy for doing it. So why? Like, so it's like you kind of have to,
Are
because
you trying to
again,
rationalize this?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know why they put it in the game. They can do whatever they want, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to rationalize why because again, you get blood orbs. You get a lot of blood orbs, so that's why I do it. Anyway, those are the trophies, the notable trophies in God of War. That was a weird conversation we just had.
Well, no, because we played it together the first time, so we were actually together when we experienced that for the first time, and that's what's weird.
I
Anywho,
suppose it wasn't even just us. There were like 4 of us.
yeah.
Because
Um,
the first time we played it was we had 2 friends over, and one of them had brought that the God of War collection, and that's the first time we did it.
right.
Yeah, just 4
So,
dudes sitting around a TV.
so what are your favorite moments?
Favorite moments. So I gotta say, I think God of War, like the first God of War, has one of the best opening sections slash tutorial sections of any game ever. You start, you're on a boat, you're being attacked by the goddamn Hydra, and you have to kill it. Like literally, the game starts with a boss fight against the Hydra, and that's what you're doing. And man, it goes hard right from the beginning.
It's epic. It sets the table for exactly what the rest of the series is going to be like.
I mean, that is 100% true. I think like all the God of War games start off that same way. Again, except 2018. They start off like all of them start off with a boss fight, typically like in the middle of a boss fight, whatever. And they're so good. All of them. Like I think all of them are good in every game. But I just think the first does it the best.
It's a fantastic opening, and they all have
Yep.
fantastic openings.
Yeah.
The cinematics also are fantastic.
Yeah.
The
Um,
narration and the
mhm.
depiction of the Titans and the gods.
Yep. And then also, I like Pandora's Temple. I know that that's a vast majority of the game, but just like the puzzles in Pandora's Temple, They're intricate, like way more than I was expecting when we had first played through this game, and we definitely had some trouble with these. And I just loved it. I loved that whole aspect of it.
Oh yeah, it's easily the most memorable part of the first game.
Hmm.
My favorite moment in the first game is actually the ending. When Kratos finally takes the throne and becomes God of War.
No, it's a cool moment. It is a really cool moment. God of War is one of those games that, man, it really lives up to its title, which is a weird thing to say, but it does.
It does.
Yeah. Anyway, favorite boss battle. Uh, so the original God of War only really has three. And honestly, even if you want to get more specific, it only really has two, being the Hydra and Hades. And between the two,
Ares.
Ares, thank you. Between the two, I think the Hydra is the better boss fight. Again, it's
I
just epic.
disagree.
It's just epic. You impale it on a mast,
It is
you
epic,
kill it.
but
Is
it's
awesome.
not as epic as becoming gigantic to fight Ares face to face, toe to toe, in a ending, earth shattering final battle. It completely lived up to the hype for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the Hydra more, but that's my opinion, and you can have
Well,
your
that's why yours
opinion, and
is
it can be wrong, and we
stupid.
can move on. Oh, anyway, what we didn't like about the game. So I put here, combat can be bullshitty, and really, I would say that even applies to the platforming. Just it's a PS2 game, so not everything works as it's supposed to all the time, which can sometimes be frustrating. And even with like platforming, the fixed camera perspective can really mess with your perception of how far you need to jump, where you need to jump, stuff like that, which can, lead to some frustration.
No, I completely agree. I was going to say the fixed camera is my issue. And that's the thing that just a lot of old games had because that's how it was. And for some games, the developers just preferred it to be that way. But nowadays, you find that most games have open cameras. And I think it's just much better, especially when you have these puzzle and platforming sequences, and the camera being blocked by different objects in the world can cause a lot of issues.
I mean, yeah, no, you're completely right. Yeah, fixed camera is really always a problem because enemies can attack you from off screen that you just can't see. But again, it's a PS2 game. I can't fault it for that. And then finally, replayability. Yes, as I said previously, I played this game a lot. I played it many times. Like the first three God of War games, I beat all of them probably at least 4 or 5 times. And certainly I'd do it today if I had the time.
Yeah, I completely agree. I too have played through them multiple times, and even the newest one I've played through multiple times. These games, even though they're so linear, nothing ever changes. It's still just, it's like you always say, I don't mind kind of like repeated combat if I enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I mean 100% agree with you. Oh no, we have final thoughts.
So basically, God of War is to me, a masterpiece, a dated masterpiece, mind you, but a masterpiece at that, that started this amazing series that we've been able to watch grow into a full-fledged narrative with deeper gameplay mechanics and a revitalized system. We've watched this game die, fall, and revive. We have a huge personal history with this game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Yeah, I said it earlier. God of War, one of my favorite series of all time, and I mean the first again. I really can't count Ascension because I didn't play it that much, but like especially the main series God of War games, and I did play Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta. They're all just fun. Like it's one of those games that I can just put on. I can, maybe throw on like some music or maybe put on like a YouTube video or something play in the background, and I'll just play this game, for hours and hours and have an absolute ball with it every time. Anyway, that's God of War.
That is God of War, which means, of course, that we move on to the indie bit. the bit where we talk about indie games.
Yay!
Today, we are talking about The Witness. So, The Witness is a game that I'm not exactly sure when it came out, but it is through and through a puzzle game. You play as a character who is on an island who solves a series of similarly themed puzzles that become more intricate as you go along to basically to change the routes of electricity, to open doors, to find more puzzles. And the game just goes along like that. The island itself is really nice. It just looks like a big nature park or something. It's bright, it's beautiful, and the music is very calming. Overall, I actually did enjoy this game. The problem I had with it is the puzzles to me were pretty one note. I was expecting a lot of different types of puzzles from what I had heard and seen about the game. But in my experience, it was really just uh, one type of like kind of labyrinth puzzle that just continues to become more intricate and difficult as you progress through the game. Jaden, what do you think?
Sorry, I didn't realize. Well, I forgot I was muted. One, even though you just said it, all you said about the game, I don't remember you saying it, but this is a very pretty game. It is one of, I would say, the best looking games you can play on PS4.
I did say that.
Yeah, and I guess in terms of, when it came out, Noah, The Witness, I'm pretty sure, like 90%, that it was announced when the PS4, I swear they talked about it in the like PS4 announcement conference. It's kind of, so it was one of those games, a very long list of games that were initially PS4 launch titles that got pushed back. And I don't remember exactly how long it was pushed back. I feel like it was at least a couple years, but I remember like all of a sudden I was on the PlayStation Store and you could buy it, and I was like, oh god, I didn't know this came out. And it's like you said with the what's I'm spacing with the puzzles. That's what it is. Where it is basically the same puzzle, but I disagree. You say it is one note. They add a lot of different catches in there, like having to make like Tetris pieces with your line, having to go through all the dots, having to separate different colored dots and stuff like that. It's fun.
It's fun, but they put a lot of variations on the one thing. There's
You're
so
right.
many
You're
other
right.
types of puzzles.
You're right. It is only the one thing. And, whether or not you like that will certainly affect your overall thoughts on the game. I thought like the different types I think were different enough that I was fine with it. Like I certainly had that same kind of disappointment that you did when I was like, oh, it's just this, there's nothing else. But then, as playing through it, I was fine with it. As like just the more I played it, I was like, okay, no, this is different. Like there were some that like some types of puzzles that I really struggled with, and there were some that I completely breezed through,
Yeah,
despite the fact that it was all the same basic concept.
I get that.
And also, I got the platinum. I'll brag about that.
Of course.
The one problem I had really playing through the game is one, I think, just kind of a problem I feel like for puzzle game. I'm trying to think of the word. I guess it is the puzzles for the most part are not randomized, which means anyone can easily look them up. You can't get the platinum trophy looking everything up because there is one trophy that specifically requires you doing all randomized puzzles. Let me tell you, that was a rough few hours. And there were some concepts of these puzzles that I did not like. For example, there's one where you're in a desert / you go kind of like underground to like these ruins where you have to use light. Like you have to like stand a certain spot and you'll see shadows that trace the path you have to then trace when doing the puzzle. The problem with that is when I played this game, those didn't show up on my TV. Like I have a better TV now, so it would probably be fine. But I remember like looking up a guide, like a YouTube video guide, and the person doing the guides was like, see, if you stand right here, it shows you the path right here. And it's like I paused his video, I stood exactly where he was standing, looking the exact same angle as best as I could see, and I could not see that puzzle. Like I could not see that shadow line. And so like for that entire section, I just had to use a video guide because literally I could not see the puzzle. Like
That's annoying.
yeah, like on my TV, I literally could not solve the puzzle, which yeah, so that's like, annoying, as you said. But again, other than that one section, it was fine. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I think honestly, this game to me, it's one of those pretentious games, I feel like, because it's like if you play the game just to get the platinum, which is hypothetically what I did, like you have to solve all 12 areas and beat the game and then do this other hidden section of puzzles. But if you do that and get the platinum, you have probably explored maybe 60% of the game, maybe. Like there's so much in this game that exists just for the sake of existing, and I just wonder why. Like there's no purpose in doing it. And I guess it's kind of, I guess, the same problem I have with games like Stardew Valley and Minecraft, where there's not really a set thing to do. Like you can set yourself certain tasks, but there isn't like a, hey, the game's over, you're done now aspect of it. And it's just something that turns me off. I found some of these like environmental puzzles and solved them, and then I'd be like, oh, I solved that. What does that do? Oh,
Nothing.
oh, I guess it does nothing. Okay. And I mean, I guess that is partially to blame on, I feel like, most, like, I feel like there were maybe older games that was, a more common thing. But with games now, and especially with how just obsessed I am with trophies, it's a serious problem. Yeah, it's like, why? Like, I just don't get it.
Interesting. Some mixed opinions on the witness.
I mean, again, like if you play it just to have, just to get the platinum like I did, you'll solve every main area, you'll do that little bonus room. And it's like I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it. I had fun with it. Like I left with a positive opinion on the game, but then I kept every once in a while finding these other things, noticing things in the environment and being like, "Oh man, what does all this stuff do?" Like in obviously not wanting to do it myself, it's like I even looked it up and it's like, "Oh, nothing." Like, oh,
Right.
if you solve all these environmental puzzles, it makes this obelisk turn from black to white. But other than that, it literally does nothing. There's no big thing if you do all of it. And I'm like, well, why? But again, that's just me and the way that I play games. So it's like if you're someone out there and that sounds awesome to you, hey, that's awesome. Go play this game and have fun. But that's just not me.
So what's the next game?
Oh shit. The next game, Noah, well, it should probably no surprise to you be Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright trilogy.
Yay!
So we are both playing through that right now.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah. And obviously, in 2 weeks, hopefully I will have beaten it. But on the large chance that I haven't, well, I've still played enough that we can talk about it. So yeah, don't forget new episodes every other Monday. Rate and subscribe. Tell us if you like our show, or tell us if you don't, and tell us why. Tell your friends and enemies about the podcast. And you can follow our Instagram, the Super Gamer Bros, for updates on everything we do. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Super Gamer Bros, one word, capital S, capital G, capital B, period at the end, where we upload videos every Friday. And our most recent video as of now, Noah, was us beginning our journey through the Legend of Korra video game.
That's true. It's actually uploaded right now.
Yep. So if you listened to our Lego Star Wars episode, in that episode, our indie bit was about the Legend of Korra video game that came out in 2014, 2013, maybe, that you cannot buy anymore. If you want to play it, too bad. Watch our videos instead. That was basically our thought process to why that series exists.
We also love Avatar.
Well, we also love Avatar, yes. But yeah, go watch that video and tell us if you hate it. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got to say. So we'll see you guys next game.
Bye.